Hello trader, welcome back to another weekly Forex forecast for the first week of November 2025. And coming up another big trading week with NFP, as this is the first week of the month, and with NFP we want to see that the market is moving significantly in this upcoming week. So that being said, quite a few instruments currently showing trend, especially DXY. We can see there is a stronger breakout in this market on DXY. We might see short-term downtrend on gold, and we will be doing an in-depth analysis what kind of movement this week we can expect on gold as well as on DXY. So that being said, let's begin first of all with DXY. We have watch list for GBPUSD, Euro Dollar, AUDUSD, Dollar CAD, Gold, GBP JPY, Dollar Yen, and BTCUSD. Now, before I progress with the analysis, traders, make sure that you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. Okay, traders, so let's begin with first of all DXY. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have on DXY. Now, first of all, looking at daily chart to see that overall trend in this market. Now, DXY, you can see that after this break of this support in that market, there was an inverted head and shoulder, stronger breakout from that inverted head and shoulder. And the market currently moving in a bullish channel here that you can see on DXY. Now, in that bullish channel, the price was maintaining this series of higher low, where also the market was maintaining series of higher high. Now, in that bullish channel on DXY, what we can see, the price maintaining this uptrending market structure. Back-to-back 3 days, we have seen that last week, DXY created an upside movement in that area where the price has just broken out of this neckline after quite a few days of consolidation. This narrow zone, DXY has got a stronger breakout in that market. So currently the market is in a bullish trend, and you could see the price to continue to rise back to the upside. From the daily perspective, there is a high probability of trend continuation in this market. Now, looking at the monthly chart to see how the price is doing. From the monthly, we can see that there is a doji on the monthly. Previous months was a stronger rejection from this monthly support level. And this month, we can see from here, there is a stronger breakout, which is showing that DXY potentially continue to trend back here to create a new higher high in this market. So if we look at the weekly chart on DXY, as we expected, DXY after this quite a few series of higher low formation with a long smaller candlestick pattern formation on DXY, past week candle close above with a stronger bullish price action formation. This week we could see that initial pullback and expecting this market to trend back to the upside to potentially cross this high. And I think that DXY highly likely we could see a semi-circular pattern formation, and we might see the price to create this pattern to the upside in this market. Now, looking at the daily chart, that we can see the price is moving with a bullish channel, which is maintaining that series of higher high and higher low, where there is also a dynamic resistance is being formed here in that market, which is potentially could continue to rise back here to create a new higher high in that market. So that being said, on the lower time frame, if you look at the 4-hour chart on DXY, expecting this market potentially to break from the structure and trend continuation back to the upside. We could see the market to create a new higher high in that area. And as DXY is maintaining this uptrending market structure, we are expecting the price to drop back down, grab the liquidity, and potentially to continue to back to the upside. This is my bias on DXY, as there could be a deeper pullback. As you know, the trading is all about probability. At any point, DXY might come down for a deeper pullback. And in that case, we could see the market to come back, even breaking this trend line. So in case DXY is breaking down for any fundamental reason over the weekend, we might see that DXY potentially to continue to drop back below this support level. If the market drops from here instead of trend continuation, highly likely we could see a deeper liquidity gap. In that case, we might see the market to break from this series of lower high in that area, and that could be the potential wave on DXY. But the bias here is that as FOMC coming, we have seen that with the as NFP is coming, the bias is still to the upside. And throughout the week, traders, I will also keep posting you to see that where the market is heading. Now let's look at GBPUSD. Now, as you know, the DXY is just a mirror of British Pound US Dollar. So looking at British Pound US Dollar, looking at the monthly chart to see that where the market is heading in that area. Now, looking at the monthly price action on GBPUSD, there's a monthly doji which is showing that the market to potentially drop down here back below in that area. So as the previous monthly close as a doji, now this month the market so far has shown significant bearish move in that area. So far we see this is the monthly close with a long bearish engulfer. Now in that bearish engulfer, the market potentially to continue to trend back below here to this support level. Now therefore there is an imbalance here in that area where there is a FVG or the fair value gap. So expecting that GBPUSD potentially continue to trend back down here to create a new lower low. Now if we look at the weekly chart to see how the market is evolving, we can see that from the weekly perspective, there is a weekly long pin bar with series of lower high that could bring that British Pound US Dollar to come back to this long-term support level here. And there is an imbalance as this is pure FVG. But I think GBPUSD potentially to come back to this support level. Now looking at daily chart on British Pound US Dollar, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is currently in a downtrend where there is an impulse back to the upside, tested this high, the market has dropped back down, pull back. It's still maintaining that series of lower high and lower low in this downtrending market structure, where we can see that there is a daily doji. Now in the daily doji, the last day of trading week, the market has created a narrower doji where there is a resistance line in that area on British Pound US Dollar, expecting the market to retest, grab liquidity and then continue to drop. As we can see that back to back quite a few days, the market was maintaining this series of lower high, and we could see the price to continue to drop back down here to create a new lower low in this market. That being said, here is what we are expecting, that GBPUSD initially to break from the structure and then continue to trend back down here to this support level. Now looking at euro dollar, like the GBPUSD euro dollar also has shown significant bearish price action throughout the week, that past week that we have seen. Now looking at the monthly chart on euro dollar, we can see that from the monthly, after previous monthly long doji, this month the market from this high here has broken completely back below here. And we can see the price currently approaching this key monthly support level and expecting that from the monthly euro dollar to drop back down to this support to create a new lower low in this market. Now, if we look at the weekly chart on euro dollar, we can see that from the weekly, this is where there is a series of lower high where the market is maintaining that series of lower high and lower low. Now from the weekly, we saw there was a massive bearish engulfer formation from the weekly, and that weekly price action showing that euro dollar potentially to continue to trend back down here, breaking this low potentially to create a new lower low. Now, if we look at the daily chart on euro dollar, we can see that from the daily perspective, where the market is maintaining this series of lower high, which is maintaining a bearish channel that you can see as the market is on this downtrend, and that downtrend is potentially to continue, as if we look at back-to-back 5 days narrower doji formation on euro dollar has given a stronger momentum or further probability to drop this market back below. As if we look at this zone here on euro dollar, we can see that stronger bearish price action with a narrower green candle, expecting euro dollar potentially to continue to trend back here to this support level to create a new lower low in this market. So looking at the 4-hour chart or the intraday time frame on euro dollar, giving a high probability that this market to retest and then continue to drop back down to this support level. Now looking at AUDUSD, to see that where the market is heading back in that area. Now looking at the monthly chart on AUDUSD, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the monthly price action where there is a significant bearish move this month. So far we have seen a bigger red candle with a longer long wick doji in that area on the monthly AUDUSD, expecting this market to drop down, fill that long wick at the bottom on the monthly chart on AUDUSD. Now if we look at the weekly chart that we can see on AUDUSD, we can see that from the weekly, this is the weekly doji, which is pretty long wick doji in that area on AUDUSD, and expecting the market to melt down back below to this support level here in the major direction of the trend. Now if we look at the daily chart on AUDUSD, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is where the market has crossed this high, where there is a resistance line from this level here that we have seen a big drop followed by this pullback to the upside to this resistance, and this market is maintaining this downtrending market structure here on AUDUSD as the price has grabbed the liquidity, expecting this market to potentially to continue to trend back down here to this support level. Now if we look at the 4-hour chart or the intraday time frame here on AUDUSD, showing that this market to drop down here back below to this support level. This is where we are expecting for AUDUSD to grab liquidity and then to continue to trend back below to this support level to create a new lower low in this market. Now looking at dollar CAD to see what the market is doing in that area. Now from dollar CAD perspective, this is the monthly chart on dollar CAD. We can see that so far from the monthly has created a significant bullish price action in that area on dollar CAD. Now in that monthly price action that we can see after this previous monthly stronger bullish price action, this month so far has created a stronger bullish impulse back to the upside here in that market. And now if you look at the weekly chart that we can see that from the weekly perspective, there was a weekly impulse from this support level, pretty strong impulse, followed by this pullback below with a long wick candle in that area on dollar CAD, expecting the market to come down for a pullback and then continue to trend back here to create a new higher high in that market on dollar CAD. Now if we look at the daily chart that you can see from the daily perspective, this is where the market is maintaining that uptrending market structure, where the price has broken this support level with a long wick rejection in that area on dollar CAD, and where the market has created this upside bias, expecting the market to come down for a pullback and then to continue to trend back here to create a new higher high in that market. So looking at 4-hour chart here that you can see on dollar CAD, expecting the market to trend back down here to this support level, and this is where there is an imbalance in the market, expecting this market to continue to trend back here to this resistance line to create a new higher high in that market on dollar CAD. Now let's see that how gold is potentially performing this week. Now we can see that gold, after creating an all-time high quite a few months, was in a significant bullish move, followed by, this is just the monthly close that you can see there is a long wick candle has created. Now this candle can act as both bullish and bearish price action. Let's look at that, what kind of market we can see on gold this month. As we can see, the long wick candle could represent a stronger rejection from the higher price, and at the same time we can see the market is maintaining this series of higher low in that area on gold. Now therefore, this is the monthly support level on gold, and expecting the market to potentially come down for a deeper pullback. And I think the market is still potential for an upside bias for a weak fill from this monthly support level. Now if we look at the weekly chart here, that you can see from the weekly perspective, back to back 2 weeks we saw significant pullback in this market after this a stronger weekly impulse. Now this week we can see, after the previous weekly long week rejection from the top, this week the market has created another weekly candle that has also the long wick at the bottom. So this long wick represents potential buying pressure here in this market on gold, and because there is a buying pressure, we might see that initial pullback and then continuation back to the upside here from the weekly perspective on gold. Now if we look at the daily chart to see how the market is evolving here, now we can see that from the daily time frame, this is the daily price action where there is a daily stronger drop here, followed by this pullback, and you can see another drop, pullback. Now as the market on the daily is still maintaining that local downtrending market structure here, we can expect gold to potentially to retest and then to retest again back below this support level here in that market. This is where expecting on gold to drop down here back below to this support level. Now if you look at the 4-hour chart here, that you can see the market in this intraday time frame, we can see quite a few bearish flight here. From here, this is a stronger rejection back below with series of lower high formation with a consolidation pattern that you can see on gold, and we can see another drop followed by consolidation pattern here in that area. And because the market is in a downtrend, what we can expect here in that market for the price to potentially retest that high and then continue to drop back down here to this support level to create a new lower low. And what I think from long-term picture on gold could remain in a potentially sideways market. This could be the wave on gold for long-term picture, that we might see the market to trend here to remain in a sideways movement on gold. Now let's look at dollar yen. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have on dollar yen. Now looking at the monthly chart on dollar yen, we can see that from the monthly, this is currently showing that significantly bullish market structure on dollar yen, and in that bull market, this is where there is a stronger impulse on the monthly, and the monthly candle closed with a bigger monthly bullish move back to the upside here on dollar yen, and we could see that the price potentially continue to trend back here to create a new higher high in that market. If we look at the weekly perspective here on dollar yen, we can see that from the weekly, this is where there is a bullish price action that we can see on the weekly perspective on dollar yen. After the previous weekly bullish engulfer, this week the market has created a stronger bullish impulse to the upside in that market. And as the market is trending back to the upside here, we can expect this market potentially to continue to trend. And what I think that there is a high area of value, expecting this market to trend back here to create a new higher high in that market. Now here is the daily chart on dollar yen, and which is showing that the market potentially to remain bullish where there is an impulse stronger followed by this pullback, and we can see that another impulse back to the upside here in that market where there is a daily doji. Last day of trading week we saw there was a low volatility that could bring that market back below potentially to this support level here, and expecting dollar yen potentially to retest and then continue to rise back to the upside as it is showing a stronger bullish price action in that area. Now looking at the 4-hour or the intraday time frame here on dollar yen, expecting this market to trend back down here, retest and then continue to drop back to create a new higher high in that market. So this could be the potential wave on dollar yen for this move back to the upside to create a new higher high. Now looking at GBP JPY, let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have in this market. Looking at the monthly chart on GJ, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is where there is a monthly bullish engulfer formation here on GBP JPY, where there is a monthly bullish candlestick pattern formation. This is where there is a, if you look at this, is an important level of resistance here on GJ, expecting this market to potentially go ahead and fill that long wick at the top on GJ. Now where there is a liquidity sweep, we could see that GBP JPY potentially continue to trend back up to create a new higher high in that market. If we look at the weekly chart on GJ, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is where there is a weekly impulse from this level followed by pullback, and expecting the market to continue to trend back here to create a new higher high in that market on GJ. And if we look at the daily chart here on GBP JPY, we can see that there was a significant bullish impulse with a gap open here in that area. Now with that gap open, the market has created this impulse back to the upside here, and which is on the daily time frame. This is a very narrower daily doji, and we can expect the market to break to the upside potentially to create a new higher high in that area. So looking at the 4-hour chart here, that you can see on the lower time frame, the market is still maintaining an uptrending market structure with a multiple liquidity sweep here, expecting GJ to break that high and then continue to trend back to the upside to create a new higher high in that market. This is where we can see that GBP JPY maintaining an uptrending market structure, and we could see the price to continue to rise back here to create a new higher high in that market. Now let's look at BTCUSD. Let's see what kind of market structure it is forming on BTCUSD. Looking at monthly chart on BTCUSD, we can see that the monthly candle closed with a pretty long wick on both direction, as the monthly candle closed above this high here on BTCUSD, expecting the market to continue to trend back to the upside as it is currently in a stronger bullish market structure here on BTCUSD. Now if we look at the weekly chart on BTCUSD, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly price action where there is a crossover of 10 and 20 EMA, which is showing that BTCUSD potentially to move back up here to create a new higher high in that area. Now if you look at this level here, that you can see from the bigger picture perspective, this is currently in a bullish trend on BTCUSD and expecting the market to continue to trend back here. Now if you look at the daily chart here on BTCUSD, you can see that from the daily, this is where the market is maintaining this uptrending market structure where there is a break below here, liquidity sweep, the market now maintaining an uptrending market structure to create a new higher high in that area on BTCUSD. Now this is where expecting the market to bounce off that level, and you could see that potential trend continuation on BTCUSD. Traders, I hope that you enjoyed this education and analysis. Make sure you give a thumbs up if you enjoy, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. Thank you, and I'll see you soon in my next analysis.